podcast. I'm Elenique Marie, and this is my beautiful co-host, Crystal Ann Compton. And we're so excited to be here with you today for our first episode. Not our, it's our first episode covering a book, Crystal.
Yeah.
It's not, last week was sort of a teaser. But today we're going to start with the incomparable Neville Goddard. Feeling is the secret, and it really is. And so I want to jump in, but before we do, Crystal's going to share a little bit of information about how these podcasts are going to go, what we're going to cover, and just things to know. So take it away.
Yeah, just a little housekeeping so everybody knows what we're doing and how this is going to be organized, at least preliminarily. Things might change as we flow and shift, but preliminarily, the way we're going to do it is each week we're going to cover a chapter or a couple of chapters in a book. Each month, we will be dealing with and talking about a different book. This month, we're obviously talking about Feeling is the Secret. This is our first episode in which we dive into that. So we're just going to be talking about the first chapter of Feeling is the Secret this week. Next week, it's going to be chapter 2. The week after that, chapter 3. And the fourth week of September will be the fourth and final chapter of Feeling is the Secret. And then in October, we're going to move to the Kybalion, however we say that. I think it's Kybalion, but we're just going to move through kind of in a methodical pace, and we're going to hash out concepts and talk about different things. But we really want to engage our listeners and our viewers. And so if you have questions about the material, or as we're going through it, if something kind of sparks for you and you're like, hey, what about this? Or does this apply in this area? We really want to encourage you to reach out to us. And you can do that in a couple of different ways. The first way is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you should have already been done.
Yes.
You should have already been done that. Get up on YouTube, look for Miraculous Thinking. There's a link in the description, and subscribe. And if you have a question or something you think we should reflect upon with regard to the content that we're dealing with, go ahead and just drop a question right there in the comment section. We're going to be reading through those. And if it's germane, if it fits, we will definitely include that in the next podcast or the one after that. Another way that you can reach out to us with your questions and your thoughts is just by writing to us at miraculousthinking@gmail.com. Miraculous Thinking is one word, no hyphen, no space. miraculousthinking@gmail.com. Let us know what your question is. And again, if it makes sense, we will include it, because we want this to be something that we're all doing together. It's not just Elenique and I, although really, if it was, we'd have a lot of fun. If it was just us, we'd have a lot of fun. But we really want to open this up for conversation for everybody else. And we've been talking too, Elenique, about perhaps starting a Facebook group. I mean, irrespective of how, gross Facebook can be, it is still like the platform with the most functionality for groups. What do you think? Do you think we should do that?
I mean, I would love that. I just believe that, in the intention that we have to utilize things and that are available to us to transform them, in the Matrix. They were like, we have to use it to change it, right? So I believe in utilizing things for the greater good. And I believe that those groups really offer support, and it's a great place to meet and ask questions and grow. So, yes.
Okay, so then let's give ourselves a little deadline-y, Pooh.
Yeah.
We will have
by next week. We'll
by
have
next
it.
week.
Yes, by next week.
Okay, so we'll have a Facebook group. We'll put links in the description so you can find us. But it'll be really great, because I think that's where we're going to be posting the schedule of books, like what's coming next, what chapters we're working in, and also for people who have questions or do want to participate, that would be a great place to just drop a question and have us see it for sure. But that's not this week. It will be next week, and we'll give you the information on that.
Absolutely.
The last thing I wanted to just mention really quick before we begin is that we are going to try to build in some meditations and some practices during episodes. Now, we can't promise every single episode, but like maybe. Maybe. But definitely today we're going to have a little meditation that Elenique is going to walk us through. And so all of these kind of segues, or these parts of the pod, are going to be time stamped in the description of the video or of the podcast. And we mention this because if you listen to us while you are commuting, or if you're out and about in the safe way, and you're not necessarily in a quiet environment, and we start transitioning into the meditation, you want to make sure that you pause and reserve that for a later time. Can you speak a little bit to that, Elenique?
Absolutely. We definitely want to bring you into an altered state where the things that we are going to be discussing can really just drop down, into that fertile subconscious territory where we want it to take hold and bloom. So, in order to do that, we really need to alter a little bit perception. And for that reason, please do not use heavy equipment, machinery, driving. Hell, don't do your taxes. None of that. Don't do any of that while you're listening to us. So please pick a time and a place where you're uninterrupted and 100% safe.
Absolutely. And then we'll come out after the meditation. We'll have a few closing words and some thoughts, and that'll be the podcast. But that's kind of the format that we're working with right now. And we're
Yes.
feeling really good about it.
Hmm.
So, having said all that, why don't we get into it?
Let's do it. Let's jump in.
Well, I thought we would start with just our overview of the first chapter of Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. Now, I will just say that this is a work that I have covered. I mean, I've read it a bazillion times. It's typically on my nightstand. It's been here in my office lately, but it's just something I go to all the time. And this is a work that I find to be just packed with power words or magical attuning words. It's almost like you don't even have to be present intellectually as you're reading all of the words. If you're present energetically or in your spirit, you're going to get the attunement. You're going to
Hmm.
get what Neville is actually offering through this work. So it's such a powerful work. I teach on it in my groups every single year. I've got to do that. I've got to, I go live and we just read it and then we just talk about it and then we do Q&A. It's just a fantastic piece of work. So I'll start us off with my impression of the first chapter, which is entitled The Law and Its Operation. And what the law is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know that I am, though, but the law is creation. It's the law of creation and truly how to manifest. And this chapter gets into the law and specifically the mechanics of creation or the mechanics of manifestation, like the mechanics that are built into who it is that we are. And that's kind of where I think we should start, with the realization that right here and right now, you have everything you need native unto yourself within you to manifest exactly what it is that you want and intend for your life at the highest level. And so that's the first empowering idea and truth that I think we need to grasp, is that that law and that operation, that's all inside of you and it works. Maybe you haven't been working the law or working the
Yes.
mechanics, but you have it right now inside of you. And so this first chapter is Neville really breaking down what those mechanics are, how the whole system works, and what you should be mindful of as you set about on your path of creation. That's my general takeaway of the first chapter. What about you, Mama?
Absolutely. Preach, sister. Love it. I agree. And it's the foundation for everything, isn't it? The realization that nothing is outside of you, everything is within you. And then I think towards the end, which is what I'll speak to after, is sort of how do we do that? How do we think and transition that knowledge, that law, once we comprehend the law? Because if we don't know the law, we're going to break the law, which is what I think a lot of us live, constantly breaking that law or applying it incorrectly, like you said. So now, once we know, then what do we do with that? So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I selected some passages from this chapter because, of course, we can't. Well, we could read the whole thing, but it would take
We
a really
could.
long time. And then we would
Yes.
talk about it. We'd be here for all day. So, but
Yep.
I selected some passages that I felt like just hit the spot and
Mhm.
really exemplify the principles that Neville is talking about in this chapter. So I'll go ahead and share what I have. And then I
Okay.
know you selected some passages too, but let's just workshop these concepts
Yeah.
and apply them to our lives as well if we can. The
Yes.
first one comes from it's the first paragraph
Yeah.
in chapter 1, Law and Its Operation. And it reads as follows: The world and all within it is man's conditioned consciousness objectified. Consciousness is the cause as well as the substance of the entire world. So it is to consciousness that we must turn if we would discover the secret of creation. And just to kind of simplify this concept a little bit, when Neville says that the world and all within it is man's conditioned consciousness, objectified. Objectified means outpictured or made into a physical reality or something that's showing up on the screen of your life. And everything that you experience every day, that's happening on this proverbial screen of your life, your wealth, your health, your relationships, your job, all of that is something that you're creating. And what Neville is saying here is that that's all a condition of, or it is all a byproduct of your conditioned consciousness. What I wanted to ask you, Elenique, is what do you think Neville means here when he says conditioned consciousness?
Well, consciousness to me is the aggregate of your how you were raised, so the family system that you grew up in, the religion that you grew up in, the society that you grew up in, your epigenetics, so the genetics that are within your body, which are ancestral, we've been inheriting them. You also have ancestral patterns that are not in the genetics and yet karmically, energetically keep repeating and form part of that conditioning. So that conditioned self is what in human design we call the not self. It's the things that we take on and we hold in our bodies and live with that are not who we truly are. They're things that have been put upon us, but they're not our authentic self. That is the conditioned self.
So like a filter, it's the
A
filter
filter.
that we walk
Absolutely.
around in. And so, in the way that I have taught metaphysics is that, the consciousness is the whole of who it is that we are as a soul or as an oversoul, like almost the undefinable, ineffable being that we truly are. And yet when we incarnate into this life, we do have to filterize ourselves. We have to enter into this dense body and live in this 3D matrix. And we have to be conditioned somewhat just to the incarnation itself, but then we further condition ourselves through the things that we do, through the things that we choose to believe, and what we do believe without choice, unconscious beliefs of self and of others. So all of this is our conditioned consciousness or our conditioned incarnation, who it is that we are right now. And so what Neville is saying very clearly here is that the whole world and everything you experience is as a result of your conditioned consciousness. And what he's going to take us through now is trying to understand that process, and he's going to give us a peek into how we can recondition our consciousness. Because if life's not working for you right now, my friend, that's a you problem. I mean,
Yes.
it's a me problem too, since we are all one, but that really is something that's happening because of the way you view yourself and feel yourself to be in this life. So that's that first foray into the subject by good old
Yes.
Neville, and I love it. The second passage that I selected is actually in my book a couple of pages later, and it reads as follows: control of your feeling is all important to a full and happy life. I'm going to say that again, it's so powerful. Control of your feeling or your emotions is all important to a full and happy life. Never entertain an undesirable feeling nor think sympathetically about wrong in any shape or form. Do not dwell on the imperfection of yourself or others. To do so is to impress the subconscious with these limitations. What you do not want done unto you, do not feel that it is done unto you or another. This is the whole of the law. Everything else is commentary. So what Neville is saying here is that how you feel truly dictates your experience and your creative manifestation in your life. And Neville is very clear here, and he continues to be clear. And actually, he repeats himself quite a lot, which is, I'm sure you could say, a tool, right? It's a technique to embed the concept within you. But what he's saying here is that how you feel is absolutely everything. I actually pulled a scripture for this, which is Ephesians 4:26, which is, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. And the reason I pulled this is because this scripture implies that it's okay to sin. I mean, not sin, it's okay to be angry. In fact, it's incredibly human and natural to be angry. But where you fall into sin is through the indulging of the anger, dwelling on the feeling that got you there in the first place. And I would say that the majority of people are spending all day and all night dwelling on the feeling that has been programmed into them by this world, by social media, by politics, by divisive issues, by war, all of the things that are present in our world right now that we are taking in and ingesting that's causing us to feel a certain way. And everything we experience in our life after that is because of how we allow ourselves to feel. It's okay to be anxious in a moment. It's okay to be afraid in a moment or aggrieved in a moment, but it's a moment. You don't then dwell and protract and prolong your karma and stay in the space of that and continue to create from that. This is very important to understand. And I think it's also a good point to kind of just stop and explain the mechanics of manifestation here, because we're referring to the subconscious and we need to kind of set that up a little bit. If that's okay,
Absolutely.
can I take a
Yes.
moment? All right.
Yes, absolutely.
So the mechanics of manifestation, according to Neville Goddard, are as follows. We're the consciousness, crystalline Compton consciousness, but I have three different distinct parts or parts of the machine when it comes to manifestation. The first is the conscious, the thinking aspect of who it is that I am. Neville would call this the masculine of me. It's the masculine aspect, and everyone has a masculine aspect. Everyone has a female aspect or a feminine aspect. The conscious is that part of me that thinks, that comes up with ideas, that engages in the imagination. If I'm running some affirmations because I want to create something, that's happening in the thinking capacity of who it is that I am. Now, the other side of that coin is the subconscious. The subconscious, again, is the feminine or the female aspect of who it is that we are. And this is the aspect that creates. Ever is the subconscious creating. And I love when Neville says that the subconscious sets about in a way known only unto itself to give you all that you have felt yourself to be. So we don't even have to worry, therefore. Well, like, okay, I really want this, but how am I ever going to get it? How do I plan for it? What are my goal steps? And what's the next thing that I've got to do? The subconscious, the womb of creation, has got this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is built in functionality right now within all of us. So conscious male, subconscious female. But they have to be able to talk to one another.
Mm-hmm.
So the subconscious wants to hear all of the good things that you want to create. And the way that the subconscious receives that message is through, well, the title of this book gives us a very clear indication, feeling. Feeling is the secret. If you think something but don't feel it, your subconscious is not going to receive it, and therefore you will not manifest it, period. So if you have an affirmation and your affirmation is, I am healthy, wealthy, and wise, that's great. But do you feel that? Until you get to the place in your imagination, in your imaginal mind, and really in an embodied way, and those things aren't separate. They're not separate. In an embodied way, until you can feel yourself as healthy, my body is healthy, it is thriving, and I am wealthy, I have all that I need and more. Until you can capture that as a feeling, the transmission does not go through to the subconscious. But the moment you do have it, that is all you need. The moment you can feelingly think a thing, now you are creating that thing. So that's the mechanics of manifestation, according to Neville Goddard. Again, think it, feel it, and now the womb of creation, she's got it, and the universe is giving it back to you. Right? Would you say that's correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, One of the sections that spoke to me, which deals with that, with the womb of creation, he says the subconscious accepts as true that which you feel is true. And because creation is the result of subconscious impressions, so literally, creation is the result of subconscious impressions. You, by your feeling, determine your creation. And that's hard to hear sometimes for people because it's hard to take responsibility for when your life externally is showing up as a hot mess and you're like, why do these things keep happening to me? You know, it's sort of a victim mentality where things happen to you, fate, you know, the world, the man, whoever is happening to you. But what he's saying is the creation that is manifesting for you is the result of the subconscious impressions that live within you. And whether or not those were placed there through your experiences, through your family, through, your religion, your culture, now that you see that what is outside of you is not working, then you need to change those impressions in order to be able to create an external reality that pleases you. So the negative feedback, if you want to call it, of a dissatisfying life in any way, shape, or form is feedback. It's telling us, hey, this is not working. I'm not happy here. I'm not vibrating with this. Or identifying that feeling, you can utilize uncomfortable, sad, mad, depressed. You can use those feelings and say, oh, thank you. This is my barometer. I've gone really off here,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to heal them one at a time. And he goes into his version of how we fix it, but I have my own theory about how we deal with those.
Well, Esther Hicks talks about this too when she talks about how our uncomfortability, our suffering, that's just contrast. It's showing you
Mm-hmm.
the way back to center, which is where you truly want to be, right? But
Correct.
you're right. It's how you feel. It's how you feel yourself to be that dictates the creation and everything that's showing up. And you're right too, Elenique, when you talk about how people don't like to get this far, because to get this far means you have to take radical responsibility for your part in what is being created, not just individually in your own life, like your own broken relationship with that guy you've been with for 10 years who's an addict and who abuses you. Like, you have a part in that. In fact, you're creating that, but it takes radical responsibility to identify that the call is coming from inside the house. And now I've got to change the signal. I've got to change the signal. I do want to ask, maybe we should simplify what a subconscious impression is. So what would you say a subconscious impression is?
Um, well, it's essentially when we're born, from the ages of 0 to 7 years old, you're all subconscious.
Right?
That's
Aren't we
why,
like in a hypnagogic state the whole time?
yeah, you
Right.
are. I mean, that's why we condition the children. That's what we're doing. We're indoctrinating them. We talk about all these cults, but life is the biggest cult, right? Society is the biggest cult because if we condition you in a way that pleases us, it's normal and healthy. But if you're conditioned in a way that is not working for society, then you have a problem or you're in a cult, right? But
Mm,
we're all conditioned. So essentially between 0 and 7 years old, you're just subconscious. That's why when you tell a little kid, there's a dragon outside giving candy, they'll literally run outside. There is no division. They're like, where's the dragon? And they're going to go get the candy. So about 8 years old, you start developing this thing called the critical mind. And it's sort of a filtering system that begins to utilize logic and reason to evaluate whether something is true or false based on experience. And that about closes somewhere around 14, 15 years old. That critical mind is solidified. So, whatever beliefs were dropped into your subconscious when you were a little kid, if you were told you were slow or stupid, or you gain weight, or nobody likes you, all those things are knowns to you. It's what you know to be true because it already made it in the subconscious. So now, when your conscious mind sees examples in your daily life that no, you're not slow, you're actually really smart, and people think you're amazing, you know that on a conscious level, but you don't feel it in the subconscious. And because you don't feel it, that subconscious is going to constantly be attracting experiences that prove to you that you in fact are what that subconscious is saying. You're going to be looking through glasses looking for validation that in fact you are those negative beliefs that you have within there. So the subconscious is a repository for your deeply held stories. That's what I call it. I mean, the subconscious is the stories we tell about the things that happen, because ultimately things just happen. They don't there's nothing good or bad except when we start to begin to tell the story, right?
right.
If you look at any world war, if you look at the winner and the loser, each one's talking about the same event, but each one has a different story about who was the bad guy and who was right and who was wrong. So the event just happens. And then comes the stories that we tell. The stories that we tell is how we store the event in the subconscious. And it's difficult because, you sometimes you're not even aware of the story you're telling. That's where consciousness comes in. That's where
Hmm.
we have to do the work. So basically, we need to examine those beliefs in order to shift them, change them, move them so that we can put in there what we truly desire, what we want to manifest, and then watch the outside world just change like magic. And it is that easy. The hard part is doing the inner work.
Right, becoming conscious to
That
what you are presently unconscious to. Like those subconscious impressions are the bricks in the foundation of who it is that you are. And you might not really realize that your whole foundation is out of alignment and the house is crooked. It's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But once you become conscious to the things that you feel are true, not even necessarily think are true, you feel them to be true about yourself and others, that's when you can start undoing the damage that has been done, because everything can be uncreated from that vantage point, and then start intentionally impressing the subconscious. And so the impression of the subconscious is the message that was sent, that was received. And I actually have another.
and was sent with feeling, right? So the vehicle for that message
Right.
is a feeling.
Correct.
Right? So it's
Yes.
not logic. It wasn't somebody sitting talking to a 2-year-old with a whole bunch of spreadsheets, going, "You're not good because let's analyze your grades from K4," right?
Right.
Like it's a feeling, it's an energy that you are
Right.
picking up from people. And sometimes it's not even their intention,
Mm-hmm.
because there is a part of you that you come programmed with due to DNA, due to karma, if you believe in, past lives and stuff. You come with these triggers. And so someone could say to somebody, stand up straight. And that's okay. That person will be like, oh, okay, let me stand up straight, when you're a little kid. And then your mom could tell the other sister, stand up straight. And in her mind, it's like, my mom always said that I was a horrible looking hunchback of Notre Dame because she said, so you
Mm-hmm.
cannot put it on the person. A lot of it is how you are receiving it, what you're
Absolutely.
doing with it.
And this next passage from the book I think is so important. Neville says, quote, "The subconscious is not concerned with the truth or the falsity of your feeling. It always accepts as true that which you feel to be true," mirroring what Paul said in Romans 2:11. God is not a respecter of persons, meaning
Right.
it is the subconscious, which again animates everything, creates everything you're experiencing tomorrow. This is created in the subconscious. It does not tell you, hey, Crystal, that feeling that you're feeling right now, you might
Yes.
want to feel something different, because I'm going to have to create from that feeling all of this further suffering and the perpetual relationship issues that you're having because you're allowing yourself to feel that way. No, the subconscious never corrects you. It is not a respecter of the feeling itself. It just, as a wife does, because Neville also talks about how Paul likens the conscious or the male aspect to the husband and the female to the wife, and how the wife rises to the lover and gives herself over to the lover and takes in the lover. And just with love does she do this, and with love does she create from this union, never questioning,
Right.
never trying to edit what is being given, but just with love receiving. And so I think that's so very important. And the first order of
Agreed.
business, I think, if I may just say, is if you're listening to this and if you're catching what we're throwing down, you need to start paying attention to how you're feeling throughout the day. I would dare say maybe put something into your timer, like a timer on your phone, have it go off 4 to 6 times a day. And when it does, just check in, like, how do I actually feel in my physical body right now? Am I feeling tense? Do I feel anxious? Am I joyful? Am I
Yes.
happy? Like, where's the contrast? What in your life is showing up right now to remind you to get back into that joy or into that place of happiness? But you have to know how you're feeling if you want to change what you're creating. Am I right?
Absolutely. And when we get to A Course in Miracles, built into the lessons, they talk about the hourly reminders of checking in with spirit. So you are checking in every hour and you're seeing, what was my vibration this hour? What were the thoughts? What did I accomplish? Did I have a fight? Did I have a what they call when something bothers you, something very slight, but in the book it says there are no small upsets. Everything if your peace is disturbed, it's equally as disturbing. So peace is peace, and anything that upsets it, it's not small, because now you've lost peace
Mm.
over a fly, over a pothole, over, traffic, whatever it may be, or over a war. It doesn't matter. It's all disturbing your peace. So that's going to be amazing when we get to talk about that
Wow.
real awareness and checking in with yourself.
That's blowing my mind a little bit. We were just talking yesterday on Zoom, and there was a fly. I don't know why, but flies just send me into a weird, irrational place. So does like stuff going wrong with my tech. Like that just makes me irrationally angry. And I think I was a missionary a long time ago. I went to Fiji and we ended up going to this village called Nangelawai. It was a beautiful village, beautiful people. And I stayed in this hut with this family and we slept on mats. But during the day, those lauhala mats, those woven mats were just a sea of black flies.
Oh,
There were
God.
flies everywhere. And I think it left such a subconscious impression on me.
Well, that's why you're my best friend because let me tell you, I have the same problem with flies. My son, I kill him with like a book. You know, I'm like literally
Mhm.
like Annie Oakley, like with the book goes
Mhm.
flying and I'm hitting the flies and mosquitoes. That and the same thing with tech. I lose my mind when the tech doesn't work. I'm like, why isn't this working? I feel like I don't know
I
what it
get
is.
so crazy, but like if it's taking you out of your peace, it is
Yes,
not just a big deal, it's the biggest deal
it
because
is.
you want to be in that centered space of peace. And furthermore, you're always creating, so you want to always be intentionally creating from peace. And so if a fly has the power to throw you out
Yes.
of it, you might want to do some work, Crystal and Compton. I know
I
that I
know
need to do
we all
some.
do, Crystal. We all have these. These are all, this is what we live with.
Yeah.
And that's really to me, when do you know you're awakened? When the small things don't bother you.
Hmm.
It's easy to not let the big things bother you. You can get philosophical, you can put distance between you and that horrible thing that's happening, but those little tiny things, that's where you can judge your progress. How
Ooh,
present am I here? Yeah.
have some work to do. I see. If a fly is throwing me off my throne of glory,
You
Lord
know.
Jesus.
By the way,
Okay.
I'd like to
Yeah.
just add that I think Paul had some serious mommy issues.
Oh, 100%.
I feel like that guy needed some therapy. You know what I mean? Okay.
Absolutely.
What is up with all of this
Lots of
man and the woman and the,
patriarchal
yeah,
energy.
no.
I mean, we could go crazy talking about Paul. You know, Carl
Yes.
Jung referred to him as the great usurper because he, in fact, never was physically there with Jesus, unless you
Yes.
count the road to Damascus, which I'm sure he'd want us to, since he wants to
Yeah.
be an authority in church. But oh, we could get
Yeah.
sidetracked by Paul all the
That's a
time.
whole other episode.
But there are so many esoteric layers to
Yes.
Paul. And when he's
Yes.
speaking about the husband and the wife, as opposed to rules and regulation, I think he's talking about this beautiful relationship between the masculine and the feminine that exists within
Yes.
us. So that Paul, I can get behind.
Yes. That aspect of Paul. You see, we can even debate
We can
Paul,
do, we
even the
can.
words that are on paper.
We can. All right. My next quote that I pulled out is, quote, sensation precedes manifestation and is the foundation upon which all manifestation rests. Be careful, therefore, of your moods and feelings, for there is an unbroken connection between your feelings and your visible world. Your body is an emotional filter and bears the unmistakable marks of your prevalent emotions. I'm going to say that again. It's so good. Your
Yeah.
body is an emotional filter and bears the unmistakable marks of your prevalent emotions. Can you speak to that? What is that? How does that land with you?
Wow. That's really deep, and we carry the scars. When we're angry, and anger becomes an addiction because it's a chemical soup, right? And we can talk about that some other day about just the biology of emotions because they're chemicals. They're not just ideas, they're chemical responses. And these chemical responses can become addictive. And so there are people that are addicted to being mad, and there are people that are addicted to being sad, and all the chemicals and emotions that come with that. And so when you live a life where you're constantly getting mad, over time, you start to see the wear and tear on your body. You destroy your heart, you destroy your circulation, you destroy your blood pressure, you hurt your organs. You're having a chemical reaction in the body because of all the thoughts that you are having. And so your thoughts are creating a biological, physiological response within you. That is truth. And that is why when people have high blood pressure, they suddenly start sending them to yoga. Well, you need to do some yoga and some mindfulness and some meditation. Absolutely, because change your state of mind, change your physiology. It's
Right.
not woo woo, it's reality.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in a way that's what he's referring to. It's that we are wearing those scars, but beyond the scars of biology, the biological scars, we have the emotional scars, the psychological scars. I mean, dealing with that inner chatter, that belief system that will not let you go about that one thing that happened or that one thing somebody did to me, what that puts you through. And they're not sitting in that soup, you are. So we're never hurting anybody else with our negative thoughts and our, anger. We're hurting ourselves. We're the ones that are bearing the scar of it. And so that's why forgiveness is so important, because when you can change the story and forgive, you free yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you're freeing.
When you speak of emotional scars, there's this idea, and I do believe it, that anything physicalized or crystallized into materiality must first have an energetic pattern, or it must be alive in the energy first.
Yes.
And if indulged, or if allowed, and if supported and fed, if you will slowly but surely start to physicalize. And with emotional trauma and with the things that we're harboring within ourselves, the offenses that we have against others, the feelings of feeling less than or not worthy or like a failure. These are things that if we indulge them, if we feel them to be true, feeling is not just a noun. It is an active, it's a verb. We're feeling this, it's moving, that energy is moving and alive inside of us. If we allow this, that's how it starts to crystallize. That's how it starts to physicalize. And it will every single time show up in your body. First, it's going to be somewhere in your chakras. Your aura is just your projection from the chakras, and then it's going to make its way into your tissues and all of the other ways that you said. But the precursor is the energy. And Neville says right here, sensation precedes manifestation. Sensation is the emotion. That's just a different way to say the feeling that you are allowing yourself to feel.
And in the ancient yogis, they had this this philosophy that the body was divided into 3 layers, right? We have the physical or gross body, and you have the energy body, right? Which is the mind body, the mental body, where you have your emotions, your intellect, your mind, your thoughts. And not only from this generation, but like from lifetimes, right? Is the argument there. And then you have at the end of that, the subtle body, where we are the light, right? The light from which we come. And the crazy part is that, I'm sorry, the causal body. The causal body is that light body.
Okay.
But that mental body can be called the subtle body. It can be called the astral body. It's where the template lives. The template that is manifesting as the physical body and the life that you are having now is living in a template, an energetic template above you. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to change that template.
Yeah.
We're trying to go up there in the template and we're trying to say, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. We want to put that in here. And when we change the template, just like a building blueprint, we change the building, right?
Right.
We are the building of God, of consciousness. So our life is an extension of that building. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, this blueprint isn't working. And how do I know? Because I don't feel good and my life doesn't match what I want. So now let me use these feelings, both negative and positive, to be my guidance system.
So who built the template?
Well, consciousness differentiated into soul, right? Because so consciousness is the undefined everythingness. And then we have an individuated aspect of consciousness, which some people call soul, some people call oversoul, some people, whatever, children of God, however you want to call it. Those aspects that have fallen into the dream in order to experience themselves and grow. So that's just a theory, though.
Okay. This is good stuff. I'm really enjoying it. Okay, but that, that also mirrors some of the dimensions of light teaching, which teaches that anything that shows up in physicality in the 3rd dimension, which is of course this earth plane dimension, must first be created in the 6th dimension, which is the dimension of sacred geometry and templatry. And so there's the idea that personalities like Nikola Tesla was kind of riding the lightning between the dimensions, and he's pulling down like the templatry and the technology from 6D, which deals with the technology of spirit and the
Yes,
technology of love, as well as actual scientific technology. But he's pulling it down through the function in the body of himself in 3D, and then he's bringing it into this Earth experience. So it kind of, both of those ideas
I love it.
interestingly
And
complement
the,
each
the
other.
highest technology is love.
It
The
is.
highest technology is love. It's the thing that heals. It's the thing that sows. It's the thing that grows. It's the thing that is life. Life. All the intelligence and everything that exists comes from love.
Amen.
And it is a loving universe, no matter how it seems to look from the perspective that we're looking at, because life is fostered. Life is constantly being fostered. Evolution's constantly being fostered. So I believe love is that language. And like you said, it comes down, and those people are the light. You know, we in human design they have a thing called the reflector. It's like
Mhm.
1% of the population, and it's the ones that you kind of gauge what's going on by their response to the to the world. I think we have those people that come, and they're not, they don't seem from this world. They don't fit in because they are. And if you look at the story of all these creative geniuses, they never fit in. They're weird.
Right.
People always are like, this guy was so weird. But that's because they're not supposed to. They are really between two worlds, like you say,
Hmm.
for sure.
In touch with the causal and dwelling in the
Yes.
physical. So, so good. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me move on. Am I taking
Good.
up too much time with all of my quotes? I can get
No,
a
I
little.
think we're
We're doing
discussing them, so it's great.
okay. All right. Next quote: the subconscious, which again is the feminine, the womb of creation, never fails to express that which has been impressed upon it. The moment it receives an impression, it begins to work out the ways of its expression.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something to throw in there to kind of
Mm-hmm.
concretize the notion that it just never doesn't work. It works every single time. The subconscious, as soon as she gets it, she's she's gestating, she's
Yep.
marinating, and that baby's coming into form within her. But the only way she can get it, just to underline the concept, is through feeling. Because if you don't feelingly think upon yourself or others or the world, the subconscious is not going to get the impression of this.
No.
So,
And again, the issue is that time period, right? I mean, people say, "Oh, I really, really want this. I feel it." You know what I've discovered working with people in coaching that never ceases to shock me, and even in hypnotherapy, that when I ask them to do their visualizations every morning about what it is that they want to create, after like a couple times, they'll be like, yeah, but it's kind of hard, or, I get bored. I say, you get bored of imagining that which you say is your deepest dream and desire. You get tired of trying to awaken that experience within yourself. Then you got to ask yourself how bad you really want it. Because the things that I want to think about them. I want to feed it. I want to water it. I want to
mhm.
embody it. And so, honestly, we are the thing that's keeping that seed. The subconscious is ready. You drop it in there. I want to, win $1 million. Boom. And then you're like, but that's never going to happen because you don't even give it time. You don't even give it a minute to orchestrate it, or you start trying to micromanage it,
Right. You call it
right?
back.
It's
Right.
like hiring the best CEO in the world and then telling him how to do the job.
Right.
You're like, come on, man.
Right. Neville's, one of his most famous lectures is order, then wait. Like, we
Yes.
don't go into a restaurant, order the food, and then go back and tell the chef that you got to put the butter down now. Okay, now we start sauteing, and now this is how, and it's got to be this. You just order, and then you sit back, you have your cocktail, you talk to your friend. It's a wonderful
Mm-hmm.
experience. You're flowing. There's so much ease, and boom, 20 minutes later, here comes your beautiful meal, and everything is
Yep.
perfect. And that's how manifestation works as well. I did want to ask you a question, because
Yes.
this is a question that I've had a few times that I'm not necessarily clear on the answer. When we were children, we could imagine. I remember just, I want to go lie down in my bed and spend 2 hours just imagining
Yeah.
stuff, or like little boys playing with their GI Joes, just, and they're imagining all of these different things. How come when we were children and we spent so much time in deep and profound imagination, we didn't manifest? Do you think?
Well, the question is, what is the outcome of those fantasies, right? Like when you pretend, at least when I did, that was the whole experience for me. I didn't actually expect a giant Barbie dream house to show up in my backyard. I was in Barbie's dream house made out of cardboard boxes, with one renegade Barbie and like all these other ugly dolls that weren't Barbies. But that was actually the experience for me. I wasn't utilizing it to create anything. I was enjoying being in it. See, children they just play. They just are there in the present moment, feeling it as if it has already happened. So there literally is nothing the universe owes. It's already been
Mm,
complete, right?
mm. So good.
So it's
Yeah.
only us that's trying to say, okay, I'm going to imagine it, but it's not enough to have it in the imagination. I want you to put it out there in my backyard.
Right.
And that's why it doesn't flow.
Yeah, and I also think it's not attached to a conscious thought of creation. Like I
Totally.
consciously want to manifest a new experience on my screen of light, and so now I'm going to feel it too. Like it is not actually
Yep.
engaging the mechanics of the magical manifestation, and it is so beautiful the way that you place that. That was the whole of the experience, was to be present in the imagination, and that was all
Yeah.
that was expected. That
Yeah.
was the outcome. That was the end. That was the
There was
manifestation.
nothing else to look for.
Oh,
I remember we used to do
so
these,
good.
we took all the food out of my mom's fridge. She used to kill us. And we had these, jardineras where you plant plants, flower beds
Yeah.
in the garden. And I would stick the tomatoes and the bananas and everything in there to pretend like we were harvesting them. We lived in an apartment. We didn't, it was like inner city garden, right? So I would pick these things up. And in my mind, I was in the middle of a farm. I was farming. I could hear the waterfall. The strawberries to me in my imagination, they were enormous. And I was in just joy until somebody yelled at me, for taking them all out of the fridge. But it's such a beautiful feeling. And I try to remember that. And I almost feel bad for the kids now because I find that they are lacking that imagination because there is no room to develop it. There is no space to wonder.
It's very
And
organized, isn't it? When you
yeah,
pop on a video and you're like within an immersive game, there's really not a whole lot of space for you to change the game in your
no. And if you want to
imagination.
change it, they're like, okay, change the skirt, change the shirt. But that's out here.
Yeah.
It's not happening within you. It's some externalized something. And ultimately there's no difference between in here and out there. I know that. But it does seem to me sometimes it seems sad to me. I
Yeah.
I love that I think we were the last people
Hmm.
that got to really experience that wonder in that complete way, that our generation.
I remember my husband talking about his grandfather who was born during the Great Depression, or I don't know, I think in the 20s. So he went up through all of that. But they were so poor, his only toy was a block of wood. But
Mhm.
he just would go outside and play for hours with his block of wood. It was a train, it was a car, it was a building, it was a this, it was a that. But
Yeah,
his imagination was engaged and it was enough. So I share your sentiment with that. Well, I have one more
absolutely.
quote that I want to
Yes.
share before we kind of go to you and what you've selected
Oh,
from chapter one of the best books of all time. Okay.
ever.
So this is a quote: to seek on the outside for that which you do not feel you are is to seek in vain. For we never find that which we want. We find only that which we are. Mic drop.
Yeah.
For we never find that which we want. We find only that which we are. In short, Neville says, you express and have only that which you are conscious of being or possessing. Quote, to him that hath, it is given.
Mhm.
End quote. And I'd like to share the actual scripture that he's quoting in Feeling
Okay.
is the Secret, which is from Matthew 13:12. Whoever has been given more, they will have in abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they do have, will be taken from him. And growing up in Christianity, I never
Mhm.
understood that. Well, this
Yeah.
guy already has so much. Why are you just going to give him more? And then this
Mhm.
guy doesn't have anything, and you're going to take away his last block of wood to play with? That doesn't seem
Yes.
fair. But what it's talking about is manifestation. You can only create from that which you have.
Right.
And so, to him that has the knowledge of self, the divine concept of self, to him that understands that that mechanism exists inside of them, more is given. And to him that hath not, to the one that perceives himself to be in lack or scarcity or suffering or failure, devaluement, more is taken away. You are
Mhm.
perpetually creating experiences every morning where more is taken away, more suffering is in your
Yes.
experience, because inside of you, you hath not. And
Mhm.
so, what that really means is to get yourself into a position of hath, of having.
Absolutely.
And the only way to do that is perhaps the most important thing. And I hope we started this, and we've said so much, but it's the divine concept of self. Have yourself, know yourself to be this truly magical and creative being, for you are. The Bible says, come, let us make man in our image. And so it was. And we were created in God's image and with all of the predilections of our Creator. And our Creator's highest passion is to create. And we
Mhm.
were created in the same image with the same functionality to create, the same passion to create. We have to know ourselves that way. We have to
Yes.
know that it's possible. Jesus also said, to him that believes, all things are possible. Anything
Yes.
that you want, good or bad or indifferent. If you believe it's possible, then boom, it is possible. But if you don't know yourself to be that powerful truly, then you have not,
No.
and more will be taken away.
Mhm. Absolutely. And, you know, we're a hologram. I mean, we are parts of that hologram, you know? Consciousness is one giant thing of which the parts of it are little holograms of the whole, right? So the whole is in the part and the part is in the whole. So we have that. We have all of the attributes, the power that we have been blessed with as aspects of that consciousness. You know, we're the ones, and I'll actually read you a quote here that I think that he says that talks to that point, and I believe it's so true. He says the subconscious accepts as true that which you feel is true, and because creation is a result of subconscious impressions, you by your feeling determine creation. You are already that which you want, and your refusal to believe it is the only reason that you do not see it.
Can you say that last one, that last sentence
Yes,
again?
you are already that which you want, and your refusal to believe it is the only reason that you do not see it.
I have
And
goosebumps.
and this is it, right? I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Because the bottom line is you're already there. You're already that. It's just this filter. And a lot of people talk about this in different ways, but just imagine consciousness is an endless possibility of doors or choices, right? Infinite expressions. But you've got a filter in front of you, and that filter condenses the infinite into whatever you've defined it to be. So if you grew up thinking, like a lot of our mothers, I can be a secretary or a housewife or never get married and just be like an unmarried woman, which some women did because they just didn't like the other two choices, right? Or become a nun. Like if you really thought those were the four things that you could choose from, then there wasn't anything else available to you. But there were women that had the capacity, the daring to imagine, no, there's got to be more. And they dreamt that dream. And you and me are sitting here today talking and having this podcast because of those women. The women that dared to open up and expand the window of choice within their own minds of what was possible for them and step through it and attract it. And that is what it is. If you don't believe something's possible for you, it can't be possible for you. You won't allow it. And that's the thing that we have to own.
Right.
And
And,
it's
and
hard.
every potential possible outcome is existing right now fluidly within the field of who it is that you are.
Exactly.
And that can go one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that I am already that which I seek to be or to become or to do, I'm already doing that. I am
Mm-hmm.
already being that. I'm already living that. That's the feeling that is the secret. And Neville also calls this the feeling of the end, like that end result that you were trying to manifest for yourself, whether that's like maybe you want to fall in love with your soulmate. You have to be in the energy of already being that. I am already that. And once you
Yes.
get that, the subconscious gets it. And now the seed is in the womb and the baby
That's
is
it.
being
And you
created.
know that, don't you? You know it, you feel it.
Mhm.
I've had moments in my life when something happened, something in me, where I've had this sense, this is it. This is it. Like there is nothing is going to deter me. This is happening. And the thing happened
Mhm.
because they had no choice, right? Because it was
Right.
in the subconscious and I had committed fully to that vision. And it's only those times that I've done that that I've truly gotten what I desired, what I wanted.
Mhm.
Everything else when I was like wishy-washy or letting people, influence my beliefs, conditioning, right? Letting other people
Right.
have a say about your dream, your vision is letting them condition you. It's not their dream. They're not you. So they don't have to agree. You've got to get to know yourself deep enough to know when you're really resonating with your own truth. And when you do, then you've just got to be brave and believe in it because that is your soul talking to you, telling you, wake up. This is, and it feels good, right? That's what
Mhm.
Neville's saying. It feels amazing. When you start feeling excitement about something, it's
Mhm.
because it's for you.
Yeah.
And you just got to keep following that. And don't be afraid. Don't let people talk you out of it, fill you with fear. People want people to be scared because we all just want to keep each other sort of in this contained environment. So it's you got to be a little warrior to
Mhm.
manifest what you truly want.
Yeah.
And it's possible, but you just have to dare to believe in yourself.
Beautiful. All right, sister. I know you've selected some passages too. Let's get into them.
Well, I think we've covered quite a lot of my
Okay.
points within our
Okay.
discussions,
Okay.
but the last thing that I want to talk about is just one particular one, and it's where he talks about self-control, and he says mastery of self-control of your thoughts and feelings is your highest achievement. However, until perfect self-control is attained, so that despite appearances, notice he says appearances, not reality, right? You feel all that you want to feel. Use sleep and prayer to aid you in realizing your desired state. These are the two gateways into the subconscious, according to Neville. I believe that hypnotherapy and hypnosis is literally like the giant gun of going into the subconscious, but that wasn't a thing, I think, when Neville was around. Was it? Or I don't know if he knew about it.
I'm not
But
sure. Yeah.
hypnotherapy it's a dreamlike state, right? So it
Yes.
is utilizing sleep, a different kind of sleep. The body's asleep,
Mind
mind's
awake.
awake,
Hmm.
right? Which the yogis have been talking about as well for thousands of years, right? So these are truths. When things keep going around for so many thousands of years, you know that there's something
Hmm.
true within them. And so for me, it's that mastery of self control. What does it really mean? A lot of times people think that that means you have to suppress what you feel, and it's not. It's that like that quote that you said about the Bible, that the problem is not in being angry, it's in allowing yourself to continue to dwell, right? So what is self-control? First of all, becoming aware of yourself and your behavior and the role that you are playing in your own mind and in your own life. And then once you're able to recognize, oh, I'm sitting again with this thought that is not going to take me to where I want to go. It's having the discipline to keep choosing a new way, no matter how many times you have to do it without giving up. Because some roads are very worn and some pathways of thinking are very worn within us. We've been thinking of them for 40 years. So it may not be that in 2 or 3 days you eliminate that road. It might, but it may not. So it's how willing are you to keep choosing a different road, a different path, a different direction every time that trigger happens. I call it a trigger because it's not helpful. It's triggering a limiting belief. It's triggering a response that is not what I wish to be for myself or others, right?
Hmm.
So I believe that, and he says it's your highest achievement because self control is I have gotten out of the conditioning. That's why I have self control. And who is the self? that's controlling. I find that that's still a little bit, for me, a little much in the world, because there is the self that I think it's we become awakened to that ultimate self, that self that's boundless. And so in that joy, the conditioning just falls away. We're just trying to clean it up long enough to remember. And then once you remember, you just allow.
And until you get there, which takes a lot of discipline and, awareness, and I mean, it's a whole spiritual practice of
It
your
is.
life, then we use sleep and we use prayer, which are coincidentally the next two chapters in this book.
Correct.
And next week, we're going to be talking about sleep, but it is a quote unquote easier way to get right to the subconscious, as opposed to just forging new neural pathways every single time. Like the easier way to get to the
Absolutely.
subconscious, to send the message and have her be impressed with it, is to work with what Neville calls a state akin to sleep, which we can also call SATs. Just work with SATs, with hypnotherapy, meditation, or just that beautiful little juicy, drowsy, hypnagogic. Is it hypnagogic or hypnopompic? What is the difference?
Hypnagogic
What
state.
is hypnopompic? Is it coming out of the trance?
I don't know, to be honest with you. This is
Okay.
the first time I'm hearing it, but
Oh, okay.
hypnagogic, I recognize, and I know
Right.
that that's true. It's just that state, and we're in it a lot. We're in it. We're in it all the time. We just don't know. And so because we don't know, we're not utilizing it. That's what's so
Right.
scary. Like when people veg out, I get terrified when I think about how much television people watch and how they're being programmed through the television watching, uh, because they are in trances and everything's just dropping in.
Yeah.
Don't you notice how you're sitting there, you're not hungry, and suddenly you're like, I need a chocolate ice cream. Where did that come from? Well, you don't even know, but there was a chocolate ice cream commercial or a something or a melt or whatever.
Right.
And so because you're so open, chocolate ice cream goes straight in and then action happens. Right? And we don't even question it. We just get up and go like robots, robots to the refrigerator.
Right.
So yeah, we have to mind what we watch. We have to watch the quality of what we watch, the people. My grandma used to say something, and then I realized some super deep guy, I don't know who, said the same thing. He said, "You are the sum total. Your vibration is the equivalent of the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with."
Tony Roberts.
Tony Roberts said that. My
Mm-hmm.
grandma used to say that. He said, the little group of friends, very Latin grandma, the little group of friends that you hang out with, that equals who you are. That equals what you are. And that's her simplistic way of saying the same thing. You are equal to the sum total of that vibration to which you expose yourself. It normalizes whatever becomes normal in the group and makes weird whatever is not part of the group. And so you become entrained into that. So we've got to be selective when we pick people, situations, programming. We have to be conscious and awake.
Well, I was just talking to someone recently about a time in my life when it was during my second marriage and I was just deeply unhappy. And I was listening to so much music. And I had a friend who said, "Well, are you are you listening to music because you're depressed, or are you depressed because you're listening to that music?" Because my
Wow.
playlist was just so like, sad songs and just
Yes.
super, I know now, very low vibration, but it's just a constant rotation of this music that I'm just letting into my very being, and it's
Yes.
coloring and tainting everything. So Neville Goddard also talks about going on something called an information diet, which we could broaden and just say an energy diet. You know how we
Yes.
have those that allergy reduction diet, like you remove this first, remove corn, then we're going to remove wheat, and then we're going to remove this. Like, I think that we should actually consciously begin to slowly but surely remove different things from our lives, including television. Oh my God, social media.
Yeah.
Nutrition is a whole nother Oprah. Like, there are a whole lot of things that we could start to just remove until we just open a very clear channel, because I think that we're all living in reaction to that which we're taking in unconsciously. Well, we got to get
Yes.
conscious to it.
Well, you can't know what you don't know that you don't know, right?
Right, right. And no
So
judgment either.
yeah, and that's what we're doing. And the crazy part was, you said this to me the other day when we were talking, the more you do spiritual work, the more you realize how much further you have to go. right?
Mhm,
So at the beginning, you
mhm.
think it's going to take 6 months and I'm going to go on a meditation retreat to the Himalayas and I'm going to come back and I'm going to be, woke. And then you do it and you're like, oh
Yeah,
Lord in
I
heaven,
am so in the desert wandering around
you
with all these
know,
other people looking for the promised land, yeah.
totally. So it's about being patient with yourself and utilizing the uncomfortableness as very good feedback. Like for me, one of my most important roles that I find in my life that I value the most is being a mother. I know that's true for you too.
Mhm.
And for me, it is the most important thing to parent my son consciously. I want to do the least amount of damage so that he needs the least amount of therapy.
Right.
Because that's what I'm trying to do, raise a happy, balanced person. And I think about how what we don't heal, we give to them. What we don't own and heal within ourselves, we pass on to them.
Mm.
So he is my biggest inspiration to go do that dirty laundry and that cleaning up and that becoming conscious, no matter how arduous or long the road, because that is what I heal in myself. I do not give to him to bear, ultimately.
Yeah. You clear the whole timeline. You can
Yes.
take it back
Yes.
to your children. And if you believe in past life stuff or timeline stuff or ancestral healing, you can work with it that way as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, this was so fantastic. I think now is the perfect time, if you feel ready, for us to
Yes,
go
I'm ready.
into an integrative experience with Elenique.
Absolutely. So, again, if you're driving or operating machinery or not able to just dedicate your full attention to this right now, please stop this recording and listen to it later when you're able to get to it. But if you're ready, allow your eyes to close. And I want you to focus your attention right between your two physical eyes to that space, that blue-black space between your eyes. And as you focus your attention there, I want you to take a deep breath in and exhale. Allow yourself to take another deep breath in as you focus there and exhale. And we'll do that one last time. Take a deep breath in, focusing on that blue-black darkness between your eyes. And exhale. And with every exhale, notice how this sends a message to your body that this is the time to go within. This is the time to experience presence, the presence of you, the presence that is always there. Even when you're walking or talking or moving, there's that awareness there that's observing, commenting on the comments that run through your mind, giving you feedback, knowings whether something is true or not, correcting in the most gentle way. And as you sit here, focusing your attention on that spot, allow yourself to just relax. With every breath that you take, relax deeper and deeper into you. And as you breathe, you feel, imagine, sense, or feel beautiful light right above your head. And it could be whatever light you'd like. Moonlight, sunlight, starlight, a waterfall of light that comes in through the top of your head, down through your eyes, and over your face and mouth, down into your throat and into your heart. And as that water falls, you feel yourself relaxing, allowing it to wash away all that which is not you, all that which you don't need to hold on to anymore. In this space, there's only presence and the peace that is that presence. And you continue to allow that light to go into your chest and your solar plexus and down into your abdomen and your hips, down your legs, into your ankles, and out your toes. And that light continues to travel down straight into the earth, where that light anchors you in the deepest part of the earth. And you can feel that you are connected within and without in that darkness of the earth, while the light is shining down upon you. You are complete. You are here now. And in this space is where you create. In this space is the infinite potential of all that is. All you need to do is sit with yourself in this peace and allow whatever it is that you want to create to take root, to be fed by the light, to take comfort in the dark, rich soil of the earth. Just allow it. Bring to mind something you truly want in your life, something you deeply desire. Imagine it. Fill it with your energy. Allow it to just become brighter and brighter for you. This wish that you will plant here in this fertile soil of I amness, of infiniteness. You are here now, and your being here brings all that is necessary for this desire to take root. So go ahead and plant it. Plant it in this earth. Plant it and know that it will take root. Trust that it is done, and it is so. And now that you've experienced this, I will begin to bring you back out to your regular and waking consciousness. But when you do, you'll come back different. You'll come back refreshed, alert, awake, and feeling so good about yourself, the world, and everyone in it. Because remember, you are the world pushed out. And since everything is good with you, everything is good with the world. So take a deep breath in and exhale. Feeling your body, feeling the weight of your body wherever you are, on the chair, on the bed. Take another big breath in and noticing the sounds around you. And one last big breath in. And as you exhale, you can open your eyes. Come back into this version of reality. Feeling so good.
Ooh, that felt really good, Elenique.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
That felt so good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. I don't read anything. I just like to go with it, because
you're
it's in the moment and you feel it happening.
you're channeling, you're gifted. It's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, this first official, I mean, we did have one last week, our intro, but our first
Yes.
first week discussing a book I just thought was so great. I had so much
did
fun.
too. Me too.
I can see all of the great things that we're going to be doing
Yes.
in these beautiful conversations. I thought we would take just a couple of minutes before we
Hmm.
close to maybe
Yes.
share our personal contact information, because you're a hypnotherapist and
Yes.
you don't, do you like focus on work with women? Can you tell us a little bit about your work and how we can reach out to you and get in contact?
Absolutely. Well, my website is www.eleniquemarie.com. And I'm a transformational coach for women. And I utilize all the different things that I've been blessed to study and learn through experience and through study, including hypnotherapy. But also, we do a lot of NLP. We do inner work for sure. We do a lot of changing belief systems, healing the inner child, because so much of what we carry is really from our childhood. So we gotta rescue that little girl. We gotta go back for her and let her know we didn't forget. We're here to claim her and bring
Mhm.
her where we are now. So that is my passion. It's my passion to work with women that truly want change, transformational change, and want to step into that light that they are, and claim it. So info at emhypnosis would be the email. Info at emhypnosis.com would be the email to reach me at. I'm in the
Awesome.
process of building a new website, so hopefully I'll have Elenique or info at
I
Elenique
think
Marie
ever since
soon.
I've known you, you've been building a new website.
I feel like you're right.
It's been a
This is
long
like the
time.
11th iteration. Yeah.
Well, it's getting better and better. Every day you're getting better and better, Elenique.
Every day in every way.
Well, for those who are interested in what I'm doing, I have got a YouTube channel. I create content. I'm kind of slowing down on YouTube, but I've got a YouTube channel and you can check me out. I have over 800 metaphysical videos spanning the last decade. Just been talking my face off for about 10 years on
Yes.
YouTube. You can check out my website, crystalanccompton.com. I am launching a program in October called 360 Align and Activate, which is basically just a 30-day program meant to bring us back into presence, to open connections and channel of communication with the body, mind, and spirit, and then to activate our future purpose. Like, I think some of us have forgotten because we've been in
Absolutely.
lockdowns and COVIDs, and we've got stuff happening all over the world, wars and rumors of wars. And we're so fried and worn out that so many of us just need that refreshing. So these 30 days are meant to bring us back to center, to connect back to what really matters, and then just to activate our purpose and get back on that path. So to find out more about that, you can go to crystallancompton.com/360. And anything I do, I'm going to post about it on my website. But this
Awesome. Oh, I
was,
forgot to mention my YouTube channel. It's again Elenique Marie on YouTube.
yes,
Yeah, I
I'm
talk about
subscribed.
you are.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really I just want to share tips and uh protocols to help people, with day-to-day life on this deconditioning process. So, you're able to just go there and get that little reminder that we talked about, that reminder
Yes.
today to change something and stick with it, so there's
Awesome.
that too.
Okay. Well, next week we have Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard, Chapter 2. If you haven't gotten the book yet, please consider getting it and joining us. You can also
Yes.
get the complete Neville Goddard Reader, which has not all of his works, but many of his works. And there you go, the complete reader. She's got it. Like, if you really want to get into Neville, like, get the reader
Yes.
and start reading through his work, because it's life shifting, and that's for sure. Again, October, we're going to be getting into the Kybalion and into the laws of the universe. And so I'm super excited about that. But until
Yeah.
then, thank you so much for joining us. We've had nothing but a good time, and that's a fact.
That's a fact.